Separated by cosmic cabinets, Brandon, Paul, and Logan are broadcasting the Nintendo Stuff podcast live using their telepathic powers. My name is Brandon Miracle, and I'm feeling under the weather. If you look south of me in the video version, you'll see Paul Anderson from my basement once again. And if you look to the right of me in the video version, you'll see Logan in his new habitat.
I need a haircut.
Okay, I guess I was gonna say it doesn't look that bad, and then you proved your point.
Well, it's just messy. Like, it's not. It needs.
Life is messy.
Unkept.
That's how you attract all the ladies.
Like, the length isn't bad because especially like you get on the side and like my hair swoops around and that looks pretty cute. It just needs to be trimmed up. Not like a whole lot of length. Just neatened.
Sure. So if you see the title of the video, which I'm sure you have if you're here, we'll be talking specifically about the Pokemon Master Trainer news that was announced recently by the Pokemon Company as the post-game for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. That'll be the main focus, the main topic a little bit later on, but if you're a regular on this show, you know that we always like to start with the Super Smash Bros. Blog posts for the last week.
What's the Super Smash Bros. Blog?
It must be a PlayStation
Never looked
game.
at that before. Also, what's Super Smash Bros?
A fighting game in which you want to knock your enemies off the side of the stage. The end.
That sounds pretty fun. I should try
That's
playing
not
it
Animal
sometime.
Crossing.
Everybody wants to be a master. Also, chat's working this week, so you guys can see your messages again. And guess what? I didn't change anything. It just works now.
It fixed itself.
If you look
Did you restart your computer between then and now?
I probably did. So that might have had something to do with it. If you look in my background, you will see I added my Super Smash Bros. Battlefield poster to my wall. You'll also see a table that's not usually there, and you're going to find out why a little bit later on. But let's go ahead and get into the Super Smash Bros. Blog for this week. Kind of an interesting week. Lots of fighters.
This is kind of unusual.
We started the week with Shulk, October 14th. He is the only fighter that can change his status during battle. His sword, the Monado, allows him to switch between 5 modes: Jump, Speed, Shield, Buster, and Smash, which change his abilities for a short time. Fun fact, Shulk's 8th color variation puts him in a pair of swimming trunks.
The best costume.
So I think my favorite thing about this, I like Shulk because I like Xenoblade Chronicles, but I like one of the minor changes they made is the fact that all of his abilities show at once and it highlights which one's selected instead of having to scroll through them and just have to instead of having to have just like an innate understanding of how the character works. You have more of a visual representation of to try to organize and
Was that how it worked? Or I was under the impression you could hold B and then press in a direction and then let go.
Well, regardless of how it functions, being able to see them all at once is a huge bonus to his accessibility.
It's also kind of a throwback to Xenoblade Chronicles itself, because you could see a number of your skills on the skill wheel in the Xenoblade Chronicles game.
Yeah. But I mean, I mentioned in the podcast on Monday that I played Smash 4. And I played Shulk, and I was very frustrated because then I would try to choose one of his arts, and then I'd scroll past the one I'd want,
Yeah.
And that's really frustrating.
And keeping me from playing Shulk.
The best Shulk players always have the number in their head of how many times they have to press the button,
right,
based on where they are.
But having this, you can still have those numbers in your head if you want, because I mean, having that preemptive knowledge, is going to make you perform better.
Mm-hmm.
But having this visual representation makes him more accessible, and it's also going to make it easier to memorize how many button presses necessarily, or if it's like a scroll wheel, holding B and then doing all that other stuff, then that also works. You know,
if that's the way it works, that will make switching like as fast as I think it could possibly be with Shulk.
I'd be down for it. I'd be down for it. So, I mean, that's just the one change that I noticed that I was like, this makes him so much more viable a character. And I like his moveset. I like the way he feels. I love the look of the Monado. And I love, like, okay, I've always loved like lightsabers, right? So when you're a kid, or even being 24, you know, I have a lightsaber in my closet, and you whip that thing out, and you feel like, yeah, like you so much power. So just like the visuals of Shulk just make me so excited to play his character, and seeing these quality of life changes. Again, just it adds that much more to the value proposition of
and I know it's kind
playing
of
as him.
It's less important, but I think also in a visual standpoint, you know, in Smash 4 he had the energy color of the current ability that you had active surrounding his body. And they've made that effect specifically a lot nicer to look at when it's active. And that might have something to do with Smash Ultimate's real-time lighting system.
Yeah.
It's also toned down a little bit, which I really like. Minor thing, but just something I thought was cool to point out.
Also, I'm glad to hear that the swimming trunks are back and he didn't get nerfed.
Yeah, I mean, like
Priorities.
that could also actually be like a worse nerf than Snake.
Yeah. I'd be really, really upset if they got rid of that costume, because that's the only way I can play as Shulk.
I love that
Yeah.
Sakurai specifically mentions that in the blog post here. Like, that is something he's proud of.
Yeah, I'm still pulling for Rex and Pyra, and I haven't played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I mean that game did really well critically and commercially, and I'd love to see some more representation from the series, because I think it's kind of become a mainstay at this point.
Xenoblade 2 is definitely the Fire Emblem Awakening equivalent for the Xenoblade series. This is the game that put Xenoblade on the map officially of treasured Nintendo properties. So yeah, I'm in agreement. I would also love to see Rex and Pyra. I'm seeing a lot of support for Alma as well, who is from Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I personally don't have any experience with, so I can't say one way or another whether I would want that. But if Alma is the one who gets a spot in Smash instead of Rex and Pyra, you know, that's great too. Just having more representation from the franchise in general is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That said, Rex and Pyra in Smash, please.
You know what you want. I respect that.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my time to, you know, get attached to the characters. I remember, like, how excited... Actually, I just remember, like, how much you were pulling for Shulk, Logan. And at that point, like, I really didn't ever think he had a chance at all. But
You mean in Smash 4?
in Smash 4, yeah.
Was I pulling for Shulk?
You definitely were. Because I remember you being very excited when he finally got announced.
There's a lot of things I don't remember. Like, I don't know. I just don't have the most amazing memory. It's not like I forget everything, but little things
Well, we're
like that.
old
I
now,
don't know.
so memory's first thing to go.
Well, I think my memory problems may have a number of causations. Not anything that's like inherently like awful, you know. But
Aging happens, man.
well, things
okay.
like things like depression too have a big effect on how much you retain over the years. But I digress.
That brings us into today's item, Marshadow, the Pokemon. For those of you who haven't seen it, Marshadow was prominently featured in Pokemon I Choose You, the 20th anniversary movie. Just for a little frame of reference. This Pokemon can hide in the shadows. When it finds its target, it will emerge from the shadows and deal a powerful punch. When there are multiple opponents, it may change its target between punches, so you'd better keep an eye out.
Ooh.
So it's kind of cool. It kind of sinks into the ground and moves, and you kind of have to be alert.
Oh. So it's like Togata from My Hero Academia.
Yes, Marshadow is actually just Togata from My Hero Academia.
They got the same
Although he's
face,
not-
so it makes sense.
Marshallow's not quite the hunk that Togata is.
No.
That's debatable. I think he's up there.
Where's your standard for beauty, Paul? What kind of
Where's
weird
yours,
alien
man?
stuff are you into?
Excuse me, that's Pokemoniality. Don't know if we can have that here.
I don't know if there's a
Y'all
legal precedence
projecting?
for that.
I guess there wouldn't be.
I just said they look similar. Okay.
I mean, unless you
They're the
just
same.
consider like Pokemon just a fictional animal of sorts, but a lot of them tend to be a lot
We're
more.
going too deep. We're going too deep.
So for
Become an
I don't
ethics
know what
conversation.
it was. Today's music, you can now listen to.
Welcome
Flashman
to the
Stage.
Philosophy Room Arcade.
I'm gonna mess up this name.
KT
Brandon, take it away.
Enjoy Keiichi Okay. Now you made me do it. Enjoy Keiichi Okabe's arrangement featuring a fresh guitar part that kicks into a nostalgic tune, Flashman Stage from Mega Man.
I knew I could get it Okabe. I couldn't. There was no chance for the first name.
Long E sound, Keiichi.
Okay, it's like saying I in Japanese twice, except you just make it E. Gotta lean into it. Keiichi.
Looks like Dream Drop is pretty excited about Keiichi Okabe. Can you give us some insight as to his previous works? Or Logan, if you could look that up too. Nier Automata's composer.
Explains a lot.
Okay. Well, if I didn't know that he was I type it in on Google and the two of the top 3 posts, one is his IMDb page and then 2 are about Nier. And here's the thing, I think that the first time I ever really listened to Nier music was the day that I played Smash. Like, we went over to this gentleman's house and he was playing Nier Automata when we got there, and I just kind of sat there and watched him play this game for about half an hour, and the music was just incredible.
Yeah,
Like,
I played
was
the PS4 demo and it blew me away. Like, I knew
don't know
instantly
what-
I wanted it.
It just put me in a place where I'm like, this is okay. One, this game is very Japanese.
Very.
And 2, I was just like, I dig everything about this. It fit everything.
It's a little bit like Bayonetta in that, one, like, their gameplay are very similar, but 2, like, music is a very prominent feature in both of those games.
Yeah. It looks like he has worked on some music for the Tekken games.
Okay.
It looks like he did the sound, or I don't know, these IMDb what do you call it? Credits aren't totally all that comprehensive, but he did some stuff for Taiko Drum Master.
Heck yeah.
One of the Final Fantasy 15 episodes. Some other TV stuff. But yeah, Tekken and Nier is probably the most notable thing.
Dream Drop
here.
also says Drakengard 1 through 3 and the Legend of Zelda Dark World theme that played on Bridge of Eldin in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. So this isn't his first time doing music for Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I mean, he's not even that old compared to a lot of other composers. He's 49. And not to say that there aren't a lot younger composers, but a lot of these like big composers are in their 50s and 60s at this point.
Right.
But man, if he can, obviously he is very, very talented, a very, very talented composer, because man, you have to be talented to compose something that comes out of Nier, because
so that said, Paul, you listened to this song right before we got into the show.
I didn't make it too deep into it, but it definitely sticks to what we've been seeing for a lot of the music so far, in that it's just very upbeat. It's electric, it just gets you really excited. In the 10 seconds I listened to, I was just like so pumped.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, like I haven't come across a track yet that was like disappointing or like uninteresting. They're on a roll for this game.
Yeah, it's interesting too because it's going to be up against like the entire legacy of Smash Brothers music, Because I wouldn't be surprised if the entire lineage of Smash music is available in the game. I think that's been the case all the way up to now. So I wonder how much of the actual soundtrack will be comprised of new pieces. That'll be something that'll be interesting to find out. But that brings us to the next day. Today's stage on October 16th, Green Greens, a stage based on green greens from Kirby's Dream Land. Wispy Woods, the tree in the center, blows wind to the sides. You can eat the apples it drops to recover health, or you can just pick them up and throw them at your opponents. So
I like this stage.
Yeah, this stage comes from Melee. It's very bright, very colorful, and actually a really solid representation of the Kirby games. As to where I feel maybe some of the other stages from the Kirby games don't do that so well. Like there's the Great Cave Offensive, which is... It's a big stage. It's meant for 8-player Smash, but... Like, outside of just the intrinsic design of the stage, there's not a lot that I feel is inherently Kirby. I think the only other stage that comes close, or two, I guess, would be Fountain of Dreams and Kirby's Dream Land on Nintendo 3DS, the one that you play on a Game Boy screen. Because you can't get any more close to just being Kirby than playing on a Game Boy screen. So yeah, I think this is the best stage to represent Kirby out of the whole bunch, just from a personal standpoint.
I agree with that.
And then Wispy, he drops the apples, which is something he actually does in his boss fight. So it's good to see that as well. You also have the blocks with some bomb blocks that come down. It's those star blocks that prevented me from getting one more KO in my Smash Ultimate Finals match that won me that hat. I could have had an even bigger lead on that guy if that block hadn't stopped him from dying off the top. But no Johns. That feel when you John, even when you win. So, Logan, what do you think about this one?
I've always loved the visuals of the Kirby series, and I was actually just looking to see if they had posted anything else from the Kirby series other than, like, I think they're on the blog, they have like one other song and then Kirby and Dedede featured. And I remember it wasn't the stage, but it was the Dreamland stage. And I really liked the Dreamland stage.
From 64?
I believe so, because it was also it was in Smash 4.
Yeah, okay, it would have been 64 then.
Yeah, so we played that one quite a bit.
The only legal stage in Smash 64. The only one.
Good stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I love colors, and Kirby's all about colors, so I'm totally down with this one.
The Melee, the song that plays in the Melee version of this stage is also one of my favorite tracks. Like, one of my favorite Kirby tracks. Dun, da, da,
what song?
Dun, da, 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 dun, da, da, dun, da, da. Yeah, that's like quintessential Kirby right there.
Right.
But the specific arrangement from Melee is something I really latch on to.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like, looking back, this is... I remember the day I got Melee. That was a very special day in my life, as it turns out. But this stage stood out to me the most on that first day. I specifically remember my reception to it when I first played on it, because it's also an evolution of that stage from 64 that you mentioned, Logan, because that stage also features Wispy Woods, and he also blows from left to right.
Yep. Yeah, no, and I was like a little bit confused because I'm like, oh, Green Greens. Wait, is there another Green Green stage? But then it's not called Green Greens, but has a lot of similar elements to it.
Yeah, this is definitely the evolution of that stage. But it definitely takes it a step further.
I also love the second picture, and you see the animation of Wispy blowing,
Mm-hmm. And his whole body kind of, like, moves with it.
Yeah, it just kind of warps, and... I don't know.
He's a tree.
He knows what he's about.
He's a tree.
But above him are clouds, and in more than one way. We got Cloud, today's fighter, the next day of the week.
Hey! Good transition.
Oh, he's that Fox dude, right?
Right, and of course I'm talking about Randall from the Yoshi's Island stage in Melee. Cloud from Final Fantasy, obviously. He's the protagonist of Final Fantasy VII. You can also select his Advent Children outfit. Charging up his limit gauge increases his special move abilities. Land a powerful hit. Cloud, did you guys watch the direct where Cloud got announced? Were you there?
I probably did.
The original?
Like when it originally
Smash
aired?
4?
Yeah.
I probably did.
Did you guys
Who knows
ever
anymore?
think that Final Fantasy would team up with Smash Brothers?
No.
You know,
no.
I
This
don't.
is like the wildest thing.
I don't have like an objective statement on that because we already have him, and so it's hard to think about a time when he wouldn't have been considered for Smash. But at the same time, like you think about like how big Smash is, right? Especially when just people like who hates Smash Brothers, you know, like and obviously there's the implication where if you put your character in Smash, right, your games are probably going to do better and you probably deserved a spot, you know. Maybe you have enough of a pedigree, you know.
Yeah, it's like being asked into the Video Game Hall of Fame, essentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking back on it, obviously he is the most iconic character from the Final Fantasy series and the most acclaimed game from the Final Fantasy series. So it only makes sense, you know.
It's also kind of interesting too because it was the game that Final Fantasy and Square Enix kind of, or I guess it would have been Square at the time, they abandoned Nintendo and went over to PlayStation because of their decision to be on cartridges, which
Right.
wouldn't support the kind of full motion video and graphics that they were looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be
So-
serious though. Like, this is huge because this is the first person from Kingdom Hearts to make his way into Smash.
You're right. They did it. Kingdom Hearts was in Smash the whole time.
Oh man.
But, I mean, take a step back and kind of look at the bigger picture with this. Once Cloud was announced, it was kind of like a universal thought that Nintendo and Square Enix had kind of come to terms and then they were in a working relationship again. And here we are years later, and that last Nintendo Direct
are
we
they?
had, and we had Square Enix literally vomit a lineage of Final Fantasy onto the Switch.
Yeah, I plan on buying Final Fantasy VII when
Me
it
too.
drops, and I like that. Obviously, we're getting it in its original form, and that's how I'd want to play. And that'll be the first time I'll even like obviously we have Final Fantasy 3 on the SNES Classic.
Yeah, which is
Um,
Final Fantasy VI.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I'll be excited to get Final Fantasy VII and actually play it for the first time because it's like I honestly like obviously Final Fantasy VII released on the PlayStation and I'd never owned a PlayStation, never owned a PlayStation 2, never owned a PlayStation 3. And so it was just never front and center. There wasn't really a good opportunity unless I wanted to play it like on like PC or something like that. And I don't think about buying like older games on PC unless they were specifically released on the PC, you know.
Yeah, this is a game I would certainly want to play on a console. And what better way to play the Final Fantasy that abandoned Nintendo by playing it on Nintendo?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was very happy when Cloud got announced for Smash Brothers back in Smash 4. Me and our friend Josiah and his brother Isaac, we had gotten together to watch this direct, which was kind of uncommon for us. Josiah just kind of asked me, he's like, hey, you want to come over and watch the direct? And I said, sure. And it just happened to be the one where Cloud got announced, and we were all flabbergasted because we never saw this coming. But Clouds and Smash, Square Enix and Nintendo are on good terms. You know, they just released Octopath Traveler. There's talk that Bravely Third may be coming to Switch. So we're in a good place.
Can we get Bravely Default and Bravely Second on Switch? as well,
That would be great.
because I don't intend to go back and play those games on my 3DS. I mean, I will if I feel like I want to play Bravely Third, but I'd rather them just like port them to Switch, and then I can get all of them on the Switch, because I do want to play those games.
Also, hello to Jordan in the chat. Long time no see. Glad to have you here. I had another comment about Cloud, but now my head's in the cloud, so we're going to go talk about Palutena. I'm 2 for 2, boys. With her wings and staff, the goddess's attacks cover a wide range. With her up smash, neutral special, and side special, she can create a ranged attack in almost every direction except for directly beneath her. Keep the pressure on your opponents from a distance with ranged attacks.
I take that.
Dream Drop caught my transition. Bless you.
You are the transition king.
Do another snappy transition like that and I'm reporting you.
Oh no, you better be careful.
I'm turning into Andre Segers. Don't tell him. So, funny thing about Palutena, and I've talked about this on the show before, I think, but Palutena was my #1 most wanted newcomer for Smash 4. And I never, ever, ever thought she was actually going to be put in the game. And lo and behold, E3 2013 or 14, I think, and there she was. I was like, hey, I wanted that, and it's here now. And do you guys remember the reveal trailer for Palutena?
Nope.
It was anime.
That's what I was thinking.
It was.
I don't remember it specifically, but I know that it was the anime.
It was
Link, probably great.
It was Link versus Pit, in full on anime, and they were fighting, and it was awesome. And you had the voice actors from Kid Icarus Uprising, that game I talk about a lot. If you know me,
because it's great.
Because it's great. And then Palutena shows up, and she was kind of the face of custom moves, because that was also the E3 that they revealed custom moves for Smash. And that kind of also was her downfall, because Palutena's moveset was so squandered and so scattered, because all of her custom moves were unique. They were not variations on the same attack like all the other characters. Every single one of her custom moves was a different move completely. And that kind of ruined her in the competitive scene, because the competitive scene was very unreceptive to custom moves in their entirety. So Palutena players just kind of got the raw end of the stick. It wasn't going to work out for them. And Palutena just suffered as a character overall in the tier list. But that's only from a competitive standpoint. As far as representing Kid Icarus Uprising, she does that very well, because all of her moves are based off of skills that you could use in that game.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the Palutena reveal right now, and I remember it now, obviously. But it makes me want a Super Smash Bros. Anime.
Yeah.
Like a full, blown series that just utilizes all those characters and tells it, because the animation is so good.
At the very least, I need a Kid Icarus
anime. Come on, give me a legit Legend of Zelda anime that is actually quality. And has
if you remember, the advertising campaign for Kid Icarus Uprising, Nintendo had teamed up with 3 very prominent anime studios to create anime shorts, and one of the studios returned to then make the trailer for Palutena. But those shorts are fantastic.
I need more of that, because they were on to something magical with Kid Icarus Uprising, especially with the anime going into that, because all of them were just so great.
The one I loved the most and still remember really well was the one where Palutena cooks Pit dinner, but
the vegetables.
Yeah, she tries to use magic, and then the vegetables come to life and start attacking the town. And it's
those were amazing.
Yeah, it was super adorable. You got to see Palutena just going about her regular day. She sent Pit to go grocery shopping. And at one point, you see Pit carrying a grocery bag, walking back to the city, and he sees these explosions and finds out that all these vegetables came to life and that they're trying to kill Palutena. Just a really ridiculous scenario that you could really only do in a world like Kid Icarus, but it was super adorable and really charming. So yeah, I'm in full agreement that they need to capitalize on that with an anime either on Kid Icarus or Super Smash Brothers, The Legend of Zelda, something.
And then they also need to spend a little money to make a sequel to Kid Icarus.
Yes, please. I will never say no to a sequel to Kid Icarus Uprising.
That wasn't like an incredible game that we definitely need a sequel to. What?
That game was one of the first to come out for 3DS. I think that was like year one, or like definitely early in the 3DS life cycle. And
Set the bar.
It set the bar really high, and if I'm being perfectly honest, it never got topped. That is the best game on 3DS, without question.
I can hardly play it because I'm left-handed, and I still played through it. It was the most uncomfortable like control scheme for a left-handed person, but I forced myself to play it. It's just that good.
You can see the passion really coming through right now. So yeah, Palutena being in Smash Brothers was really great, and they've kind of refined her moveset for Smash Ultimate because it seems like custom moves largely are out, like save for the Mii fighters. If you look at her down B, it was a counter before, like in her base moveset in 4, but now if you get hit by a projectile, it will change to her side B, which was Reflect. So now they've combined 2 moves into 1 move. And it seems like that's the only kind of like extra move that got added to her specials. And I think Auto Reticle, which was her neutral B, was replaced with a different attack. I could be wrong about that, but there's a whole selection of moves that are just gone forever now. But hopefully this set that we got really works well with Palutena's kit.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I've played Palutena, but I usually got pretty bored of her because I don't really care for her moveset. Like, I didn't think that she was a very fun character to play. So honestly, to me, any changes are probably a good one.
No, I'm in full agreement. Like I said, Palutena was my #1 most requested fighter for Smash 4, and I hardly touched her at all because she really wasn't that great.
Yeah.
So I hope that these changes are for the better and that Palutena is better. I mean, what else can you say?
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of the week for Smash Brothers blog posts. A pretty good week, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, we usually don't get anything new aside from last week with Ash Greninja. But has anyone been keeping tabs on all of the characters that have been in blog posts? Like, how many do we actually have left?
I don't know. Like, it'd be interesting to like actually sit down and count through and see how many are left. And it seems like they talk about 2 to 3 a week. And so kind of figuring out like, okay, are they going to touch on all the characters before launch?
I think I just got a rough estimate.
Okay. What does it look like?
I clicked on the Fighters tab or the Fighters tag for the blog posts, and there's 6 pages, and the current page has 10 on 1 page. So we can assume at least 60 characters have been announced through the blog, which is almost the whole cast. We're running out of character posts.
Until they announce some new ones.
So, I mean, there's what, like
73 or 74 if you count Echo Fighters.
Well, how many weeks do we have until
7?
Smash?
7 weeks?
Let's see. 1,
Oh, wow.
2, 3.
That's coming up fast.
Yeah. 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7. 7 sounds about right.
If they keep
So,
up
I mean,
with
that's
the
at
2 to
least
3,
another 14 characters at the very least.
that would get us
and if
through what
we're-
we have till right now, I believe.
Right. Also, okay, so if there's 10 on that page and there's 6 pages, how many are on the last page? Because that
Will give us a real indication.
Real quick though, hear me out. Squad Strike, or is that the one where you like play through the roster and like
Smashdown.
A game of Smashdown, but you go in order of character reveals through the blog.
Oh, that'd be fun. We should do that.
We should.
So the numbers are a little bit skewed because Pokemon Trainer is 33 through 35, but Pokemon Trainer's blog post was all 3 characters. And then Mii Fighters, I don't remember if they've been talked about yet, but they would have been 1 blog post too.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're looking at it from that lens, really there's only I think at most 8 left.
Okay. I mean, so I we're probably getting at the point where, I mean, maybe in a week or two we're gonna, maybe get another character reveal.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we know they're not done.
Oh,
We know there's not many left.
That
but
too.
we know they're not done.
The thing
We
is,
still need to get Harold and Rex Flex, man.
my thought is there's probably going to be another 5 or 6 characters. At this point, we're so late in the game that I really do think we're just down to 1 Smash Direct. There was a time when I thought there would have been 2 more, but it's been too long. And think about it. What would the reception to a Smash Direct that didn't have 5 characters like the last one be? It wouldn't go over well. I honestly don't think it would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe late November, maybe like a week or 2 before the game launches.
It has to be before review copies are out in the wild.
Right. So
It could
maybe
be anywhere as mid-November or earlier.
right. Well, I
I'll
mean,
take it
it's,
whenever I can get it.
the game is coming out so soon. Like, it's just, it really could happen at any time. But I imagine it might be closer to launch than further back. So I think at the earliest, maybe late October, maybe the last week in October. But I think at this point, I would, if I had to bet on it, I'd say November.
I'm going to go ahead and also say late October, I think. Personally, I think they're going to get the characters out sooner rather than later to avoid any complications.
Right.
And that's
Yeah.
not just because that's what I want. I do want to see the characters, but I think from a logistical standpoint, it probably makes the most sense to do it sooner. As long as they leave a little bit left. They could do like a 5-character direct and then plan for just a regular direct where they reveal the last newcomer, which will be Geno. That's going to be the last newcomer. I'm calling it. And where do you stand on this, Paul? What do you think?
As to like when the direct will be,
Yeah, when is the next time we're going to hear something?
I'm gonna guess like that last week in October, the first week in November. That seems like the right time for it.
Mm-hmm.
Get it out early before someone gets a chance to spoil it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
I also think that it'll be Skull Kid will be last.
oh, you think Skull Kid will be last? All right, Logan, who will be the last newcomer reveal?
I haven't really thought about who
Tetris.
any of the newcomers would be in several
Cucumbers.
weeks.
Any of the cucumbers.
I think Skull Kid is a good guess for like one of the remaining newcomers. Though I feel like there's at least one more third-party character, and I feel like there might be an iconic third-party character. I don't think Skull Kid is as... I mean, Skull Kid's iconic, don't get me wrong.
but he's not the last character you reveal. Maybe.
No, I don't think he'll be the last character to be revealed.
Not to
You're
discount you,
thinking
Paul.
Sora.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, to discount Paul, I think Paul's wrong, and I think he's a lesser person because of it.
You are a discount, Logan.
So that said, if Skull Kid was the last character reveal, that would be great for me because Skull Kid is probably my number 1 as far as like first party characters right now.
I just feel like it's one of those like they're so highly requested that I feel like that's the last thing you show. That's like going out with a bang.
And that's kind of why I feel that way about Geno, since Geno has been requested since as far back as Melee.
I would say if Geno's in the game, I think Geno would be the last one to be revealed, at least over Skull Kid. I don't know. Maybe that's something that we need to be discussing in the Discord as time goes on. Not that you guys haven't, because a lot of discussion happens in the Super Smash Bros. Channel, and I miss a lot of it sometimes.
And I guess to your point, then, Logan, technically Geno is a third-party character.
Technically, yeah. Even though he's in a Mario game. But I mean, Square own the rights to Geno?
Square Enix owns the rights to Geno.
That makes it even better, I think.
Yeah. I feel that slightly maybe hurts the chances for Sora. Sora already has the slimmest chances on Earth, but I feel like Geno would always take precedence over Sora in that case.
I don't know. I feel like, I know that at least as I'm aware of, Disney kind of lets...
they let Square do whatever they want with Sora.
Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sora was in the game. But I think, man, if Sora was in the game, they would save Sora for last. Because that's bigger than Skull Kid and Geno right there. In terms
that would
of
be
just
a month before Kingdom Hearts 3. That's a great selling point.
That would be the funniest phone call. I could just imagine Square calling Disney. And it's like, hey, we're throwing all these characters in Nintendo for Smash Bros. You want Sora in?
Yeah.
You want to send Sora to it for you?
Funny. So when the other day I had orientation for my job at Target. Can you tell that I work at Target?
A little bit.
One of the girls who was there at orientation too had a Keyblade tattoo on her forearm, and I was like, oh, look, a Keyblade tattoo. And then we had a little discussion about video games and how we would both want Red Dead and all that good stuff.
Did you talk about how Kingdom Hearts 1 is a bad game?
Yes. And how the lore is incredibly confusing.
Yes, it is.
It's so funny seeing Kingdom Hearts, big Kingdom Hearts fans just be blatantly honest with its faults. They're like, yeah, it's really messy, and Kingdom Hearts 1 is kind of a bad game. It consistently, all the ones I've met. It's pretty funny.
That said, I think that speaks to a good fan base when they're willing to have those discussions.
Yeah, yes, to their credit.
So that's what we're thinking for Smash for the next couple weeks. I just kind of wanted to have that discussion because we're really winding down. Like I said, we're 7 weeks away. That's really close. Yeah, it sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's because Snake's
in the game. It came out of nowhere. What? It's gonna be another week or 2 or 3 before controllers start shipping out.
November 2nd is when controllers and the adapter release.
Hold on.
Go out and buy them, by the way.
I'm not gonna
2 weeks from today.
Them.
2 weeks from today, and we'll have our controllers and adapter.
I mainly just want the adapter because I have I have 3 GameCube controllers myself, original GameCube controllers.
They are 9-footers though.
I know, and I really like the Smash emblem, so I'd like to at least get one controller.
Yeah. Only $30. Honestly, it's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal. But I have one more thing that I'd like to buy before those even come out. And honestly, I won't even need them until Smash Bros. Comes out. So I might just buy them. I might just buy the game, the adapter, and the Smash Bros. GameCube controller.
I think the reason they're releasing it all so early is 1, Christmas, but 2, they don't want to have stocking issues that they had with the adapter and GameCube controllers like they did with Smash 4. You don't want that on launch day.
Also, they need to just start adding GameCube controller support to games that can support it, Obviously it would work great for games like Mario Kart.
GameCube controllers already supported.
Is it?
You can play any game that supports a Pro controller with a GameCube controller.
Oh. But I mean, the question is there an official look, there's a graphic, or does it recognize it on the console as a GameCube controller?
As of right now, it recognizes it as a USB controller because it's plugged in via the adapter. Right. I wouldn't be surprised, once launch day comes around, if they update the icon, but the functionality's been there.
Yeah, that's what I would like. I would like for them to just start including that imagery in the games and make it very forefront. Like, hey guys, this is a controller option for a lot of games because, specifically games that don't require like clickable control sticks,
Yeah.
or both bumpers.
or could support analog triggers.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, why didn't
Super
I want
Mario
analog
Sunshine
triggers? I miss
HD.
analog triggers.
I would take it Sunshine HD.
So we're almost an hour
There
into
it
the show, and we haven't talked about the namesake of the episode yet. So I think we'll jump into that really quick. So earlier this week, the Pokemon Company announced the post game for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. And I'm seeing a very mixed bag of responses to this, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this. I don't know about you guys, but I was of the assumption that Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee would not have a post game at all.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when you mentioned there was a post game. It wasn't something I was expecting to find with this title, but I'm really glad it's there, and like hearing the concept for it, I actually really like it.
Yeah, and for those at home who don't know what we're talking about, they've announced that after you beat the Elite Four, after you finish the game, you will unlock the ability to battle Master Trainers. And Master Trainers only focus on one Pokemon. And there are 151 Master Trainers in the game, one for each species of Pokemon from the Kanto region. When you battle them,
That's a lot.
you can use one Pokemon. The only Pokemon you can use is the Pokemon they specialize in.
So this kind of
Okay.
incentivizes collecting every type of Pokemon because then you have to have those Pokemon to battle those trainers.
So you have to battle the trainers using that specific Pokemon. They're at level 75. And the Pokemon that you battle will be able to use moves that it doesn't usually associate with. And the moves that they use are typically super effective against the Pokemon itself.
So that's really cool. I like what's happening, and that actually makes me kind of want to play this a lot more, and makes me also want to finish the game because I think that's an interesting way of going about things. Quick side note, I love this trailer, specifically like the last like 10 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
It's just Metapod, and then you face the Metapod, and then the Metapod hardens, and then
A direct reference to
And it ends.
episode 3 of the Pokemon anime, where Ash battles a Metapod trainer using his Metapod, and they can only use Harden. That was a really cute reference.
In that scenario, everyone loses.
Yes.
or everyone wins.
Or
Really depends
Metapod
on your
uses
perspective.
flamethrower and you die.
I think the best possible outcome of that scenario is that another like Pidgeot swoops in and carries both of them off.
So
It's the darkest timeline.
I really like you said, Paul, I really like the idea behind this. I think this is really cute.
It adds, like, especially with it being all 151 Pokemon, like that's a lot of content post game.
And it's really challenging from the sounds of it.
Yeah.
I've seen people complaining, because of course, that
Yeah.
given the circumstances, it's a one-on-one, which is unusual for Pokemon. The Pokemon you're facing, it's a Ditto, but a Ditto match, but the Pokemon that you're facing has the ability to use super effective moves against you that it wouldn't normally have. So there are a lot of people online saying, well, the only way to win is to grind. Or if you're conmen, it sounds like padding. But actually, those are both arguments I've heard so far. Where do you guys stand on that?
I thought that was the whole point.
Padding is the
You
whole
actually-
point, by the way.
Well, I thought you were supposed to train and train and train and get better. Training, regardless, is a grind, right? In real life and in video games. I mean, there's nobody's saying that you have to do the post game content, and maybe the criticism is that the post game content could be better. but I'm not sure, you know. Maybe you just have to be a better trainer. Here's my statement to everybody complaining, all those Pokemon fans complaining about having to grind, or I don't even know what padding is. But like, get good.
That's what I thought you were saying.
If you can't, like, this sounds like a really difficult challenge. So get good, okay? And if you're good enough to beat them, that's just, you know, that's more to gloat about being the best.
I think the other side of that particular part of the argument is that some of the challenge is taken away, given the fact that it's a one-on-one. So some of the strategy that, you know, Pokemon battles traditionally have is gone. Since you're not formulating a team, you're focusing solely on one Pokemon.
Right.
And the odds are kind of
disadvantage.
Exactly.
But I would say that, like, if you really hate this, then I mean, pick your strongest Pokemon, try that out, and then be done with it. You can move on to another game and be happy. But at least, like, give yourself the challenge.
Conman saying it doesn't seem like it's a super fun thing to do. As a Pokemon, I should say this, as a casual Pokemon fan, I know a lot of the people who are upset are competitive players. And if you're a competitive player, I understand that. You know, I'm a competitive Smash player, and obviously we have not always had the best relationship with Nintendo. So I know what you mean. But you have a regular Pokemon game coming out next year.
Yeah.
This game isn't necessarily for you, but that comes with the promise that the game that is for you is still on the way. And I think a lot of people are ignoring that.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that and just say that I'm glad this isn't a core Pokemon game, you know, because they rush these. They don't necessarily rush them out, but like, obviously for each like console, they have to build the game, and so giving it a little bit more time and building on top of what they even have with Pokemon Let's Go, because I'm not even sure that the game will look all that much different, you know, as from Let's Go, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but at least this way they did something safe to build the engine in, and obviously tie it into Pokemon Go and all this other stuff, but then also gave the team a little bit more time to develop something that's really going to push the series forward. And not that they haven't done things to push the series forward and, tweak little quality of life things. Like, for example, with the latest
Sun and Moon,
like, they got rid of the grid. Like, finally, like, we didn't need it anymore. And so just kind of like shedding things that aren't inherently Pokemon, and really coming into the HD era. And I think it will continue to evolve. I think that each generation takes some pretty logical, larger steps, but it's not like all at once, you know? And so, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the core Pokemon game, and I probably will pick that one up. I'm not sure Let's Go is something that I'll be picking up.
Yeah, and I wish more people would take your stance where you are okay that Pokemon Let's Go exists and you understand that it's not for you, or maybe it's not for you, but you still have a game to look forward to that we will be hearing about in 5 months or less. I guarantee it.
Yeah,
I said that right into the camera. But the other thing, is like the end game of Pokemon is usually primarily catch 'em all, right? And that's a lot easier to do when there's only 151, in this case 152 Pokemon. But now they're giving you something that ties together with that you can enjoy on the side.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is. It's an added incentive to make sure that, hey, this is a focus of this game. Catch 100 all 151 Pokemon, you know? And now there's more of a reason to, other than just, oh, you should, you know, and it's a cool thing to do. Now it's like, okay, now you have a reason to catch every single one, because there are battles that you can't do unless you catch every single one.
And I at the same time, I also don't think Game Freak is expecting most players to 100% this challenge, because obviously this is an investment. It's going to take a long time to do this.
Well, I think this is primarily just if you beat the story, everybody has like their own Pokemon that they like the most. Whatever Pokemon you beat the Elite Four with, whatever one ends up being your strongest, whichever one is your favorite, here's a challenge for you. Go do that with this Pokemon.
Yeah.
And they just kind of made it available for everyone, no matter who their favorite is, to go and do this. And then also, if you had like a couple of favorites, now you can do that too.
And I also failed to mention that if you beat these trainers, you then take the title from them, and you become the master trainer of that species. So if I want to be...
For a second, I thought you were going to say then you take their Pokemon.
So
I beat
you
your
take their
Venusaur, so
soul.
it's mine now.
we're gotta snatch them all. So you Pidgeot was my favorite Pokemon in Gen 1 in Pokemon Yellow back when I first played it. So I could become the Master Pidgeot Trainer would be my title. Or it'd be Brandon, the Master Pidgeot Trainer. So it's kind of cute. It's a small incentive. Gives the players something extra to do once they're done. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that.
Yeah, as long as there's also the added benefit of them giving you a document that can be emailed to you and then printed out and then put on your wall because you caught every Pokemon and you beat every Master Trainer.
Got to get out that Game
And then
Boy
you can
printer.
frame it and you're like, hey guys, look at this stuff.
Yeah, but you can't hook up the Game Boy printer to the Switch, so fortunately.
Oh, they're gonna sell an adapter.
If I had caught all 151 in Pokemon Yellow, I would have begged my mother for a Game Boy camera so I could do exactly what you're saying right now. Baconator says, I want to be a master Pokemon snatcher when I grow up. And then
Welcome to Team Rocket.
Conman says, I wonder how the competitive scene will be for this game. If there will be one at all. And I think you hit I think you hit it on the head right there. I don't think Game Freak wants there to be a competitive scene for this game. I think that is fully intended for Pokemon 2019. So, for all you competitive players, we still have Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon for one more year. I know it's a long wait, but this is the regular old wait between generations anyway. So, I mean, there's not much to complain about. It'll be here. Don't worry.
Well, let me stop you there. There's always something to complain about.
No, there is
something legitimately to complain about is what I mean.
Hey, who's to say that their complaints aren't legitimate? They may be really dumb
from their situation. Yeah, I understand.
I'd say a legitimate complaint is anything that somebody feels like they want to complain about. Not that there aren't better things to do with your time or better ways to dedicate that energy, but you're allowed to complain. And that's
well, let me
totally
complain
legitimate.
about Logan real quick. That's a legitimate complaint, right?
Yeah, man, you can complain about me all you want.
And
I can give you a nice rebuttal.
You're
but
killing it by
you're
giving me
allowed to
permission,
complain,
man.
That's totally legitimate.
Now I don't want to complain about you anymore. You ruined it.
Unless it's like entirely
Man,
untrue,
I love you guys
right?
and I hate it.
But if your complaint is like, oh man, I have to wait another year, like that's fair. I can complain that I have to wait, still over a month for Smash Bros. Ultimate,
And I want to clarify for people who don't want Pokemon Let's Go and are, vehemently against that game's existence. If you think that, that's okay. Like, you're more than okay to be in your right. More than okay to be in your right. You're more than in your right to think that way. And if you want only Pokemon 2019, more power to you. Vote with your wallet.
All I'm saying though is Smash Ultimate's gonna be a better game than Pokemon 2019.
You're right. Conman says if Smash all of a sudden had a drastic change, like having health bars and being a regular 2D fighter, the community would revolt. But I think that misses the point, because Pokemon Let's Go was announced with the promise that we weren't changing things permanently.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, like, it's still very much a Pokemon game, you know. But obviously, there is that blatant tie-in. Like, it's its own thing. Like, this isn't a replacement.
This is the third pillar of the Pokemon series. You have main games, you have the remakes, and you have Pokemon Let's Go now. Baconator says, do you think Meltan will be in this game? Yes, Meltan was announced to be in the game.
Also, I just thought about something. You know, because of these, I feel like Pokemon games, the core Pokemon games, if they continue with the Let's Go series as, like, you know, like the secondary remakes, right? They're just a few generations behind of the other remakes.
Johto remake again.
Well, it might give Pokemon a little bit more breathing room, you know? And maybe you'll get a more quality Pokemon game, just not as often, you know, which I think those games come out far too often. So I think they could stand to take a little bit of bigger breather between like remakes and generations.
Yeah, and I think Let's Go is kind of a casual, you know, relaxed distraction from the regular Pokemon attraction. Sorry to get all rhymey on you, but so Pokemon 2019 is on the way. It'll probably get announced in the first 6 months of 2019. That's usually how the Pokemon Company does it. So don't fret. I will buy Pokemon Let's Go, and if I don't like it, I will tell you that. Like, I'll be honest with you, because that's what we're here for.
Plus, if you just hate it, you'll probably get more clicks too.
Sad but true, right? Let's see. Speaking of Pokemon Let's Go, Junichi Masuda says that another Pokemon Let's Go style game set in Johto could happen if everyone enjoys playing them. And let's put everyone in quotation marks real quick.
And that's actually what I was referring to, in the sense that, like, they've already said that they might continue with this series.
Yeah.
And I think Let's Go will sell well, and I think a lot of people will like it. And I think it caters to a different market. And
sell more Switch units, yeah!
I could see Pokemon Let's Go. I don't even. What would you do?
Pokemon
next?
Let's Go Snubble. Pokemon Let's Go Dunsparce. Dunsparce.
I don't know.
Snubble.
Shucky?
Shuckle.
Shuckle.
I think that's Gen...
Shuckle version.
Is that Gen 2? I thought that was Gen 3.
I thought it was Gen 2, because that was the one you got.
Oh, you might be right.
I remember getting him in, like, silver, and then I hated him, so I just left him.
But Shuckle's cute.
The person's like, hey, here, this is my best friend. Take him, please, and make sure you take good care of him. And I abandoned him.
I should also mention that this extensive interview, and I say extensive because there's a lot to digest, comes from Eurogamer. They did an interview with Junichi Masuda and Kensaku Nabana from Game Freak. So definitely go check that out over on Eurogamer. There's a lot of cool tidbits and also some areas that made people upset, but we won't get into that because we've already talked about upset people enough for this podcast. But moving on, Super Nintendo World construction begins at Universal Hollywood Studios in California.
Yeah.
So things are underway for the old American side of Super Nintendo World, and I believe this is the one. It's either this one or the one that will be in Orlando. One of the United States versions of the park will be the definitive park amongst the 3 or 4 that they're building. So we lucked out. We get the big one in our country. So sorry, Japan.
Yeah.
That said, ours is obviously going to open much later than the one that's opening in Tokyo. We are trying to be there in Tokyo when that opens. We'll let you know how that goes a little closer to that release date. or that open
Depends
date.
on how much our lives get together and how much money we can make in the next few years.
Yeah, would be a lot of fun. We'd shoot some vlogs for you guys.
This Patreon link in the description. Help us out, please. Thank you. Love you.
Moving on, you can now get the zombie headwear zombie outfit in Super Mario Odyssey. Plus 3 new snapshot filters have been added to the game, including Kaleidoscope, Manga, and Tile.
Oh, fun.
I just lent my game to a friend.
Logan, it's
okay.
spooky weed.
Tell him you're not friends
Well,
anymore and
that's-
take it back.
It's okay because he hasn't played through the game and he expressed that he wanted to, and I'm like, "Do you want to borrow my copy?" And he goes, "Okay."
Just tell him you're not friends anymore and take it back.
I still think this is, proof that there's larger DLC coming. And actually, the Nintendo dads uploaded a video that I totally watched because it was very clickbaity about DLC coming, and obviously it was totally unfounded.
They liked my replied tweet to that video, by the way.
So,
That video
Yeah.
was a joke.
yeah, but it was still like I want it. I want it.
Yeah, and despite Justin... Okay, goodbye, Logan. Despite, I believe it was Justin from Nintendo Dads that did that video, despite it mostly being a joke, like he was joking, the punchline doesn't come to the very last second of the video. I don't think he's too off the mark. Like he mentions in that video that we're approaching the 1-year anniversary. That'd be a good time to just kind of shadow drop some sweet DLC.
I've mentioned it before, but it doesn't matter when they drop it, as long as they drop it.
Or sequel.
You'll get people to flock back to it as long as it's there. So it doesn't matter when. It's not like they have to do it right now because it's relevant. It'll become relevant because they do it.
Yeah, and think about it. For all of us who have stopped playing since then, when we come back, we'll have Luigi's Balloon World, a ton of new costumes to buy, and a ton of new snapshot filters. So it'll feel like a big update. And I assume that the DLC would come with a lot more snapshot filters and costumes of its own. So there'd be a lot of new content to come back to. Yeah, and there's also the possibility, like Conman says, that it could end up getting the Super Mario Galaxy treatment where it's a sequel instead. I am also fully on board with that.
Yeah. I would pay to play a lot more.
It'd also be cool if they did kind of like a Torn of the Golden Country kind of setup where the DLC is so big that they release it standalone as a sequel, but you can buy it as DLC and attach it to your already existing game.
Yeah, I'd be into that too. I'd like to see more games do that.
In fact, new Super Mario Brothers U did that on Wii U with Super Luigi U. The DLC was so big that they released it as a standalone package for $30. So it's not like they haven't
just
done
wait
it.
until they have that ready to go for Odyssey.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. You know what? Mark my words. That's what's going to happen with Odyssey.
What color highlighter should I mark your words with?
Purple.
Okay.
Dream Drop said Fire Emblem Fates did that, and it was LOL. Well, I think Fire Emblem Fates was a little bit of a different story. That said, I hear complaints about that all the time. Your average Fire Emblem game's 25 chapters long, and each one of the versions of Fates was 25 chapters long. They did nothing wrong.
I'm going to get you a t-shirt. Fire Emblem Fates did nothing wrong.
Fakenator bought Super Luigi U just to play as Nabbit. Well, now you can buy it again on Switch to play as Nabbit again. Or Peachette, if you want.
Oh, man. That's all I'm going to say about that. Just, oh, man.
So moving on. Speaking of, Xenoblade, Monolith Soft says they are recreating Xenoblade X would be really difficult. In an interview they did with US Gamer, director Tetsuya Takahashi says, when answering the question, when it comes to roadblocks that stand in the way of Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Switch, Takahashi's answer is simple. He says, money. It's a massive game. Recreating it would be difficult. Or would,
I feel that for them, like knowing especially like how much time you could sink into the Xenoblade games. Like,
especially X, because X was like fully open world. Not even 2
yeah.
is.
And like, did that game have any significant gamepad integration in it?
I don't believe so. I think it was just menu and map.
Okay, so that does at least make it a little bit easier, but yeah, I could see where it'd just be a huge pain. I'm also sure though that they'd probably sell a lot more copies on Switch than they would on Wii U.
Given the success of Xenoblade 2, they could probably make their money back and more doing a remake of X or a port of X. Conman says, how is porting X to the Switch going to be hard, but they ported Xenoblade Chronicles to the 3DS?
He does ask the right question.
That is
though.
the right question, yeah.
But Dream Drop points out exactly what I was thinking. Remake, not a port. I would actually just be okay with them porting it, honestly.
Actually, I do think it was a port. Dream Drop's double checking that right now. But either way, like, doing that is always going to be expensive. Like, I don't think there's a scenario in which porting a game wouldn't be expensive unless the transfer was seamless. Like, if the console architecture, the system architecture was simple or similar enough to not have to change that much. Yeah, it was a low-res port to 3DS. Baconator says, I bet you can get views by saying Peachette or Bowsette 100,000 times. I wouldn't be surprised. And that pretty much does it for all the big Nintendo news this week. Again, a second week in a row, kind of slow in the news department, but a lot of that has to do...
They're getting us ready for a large week of Nintendo Switch, Smash Bros. Specifically, announcements.
Well, there's that, but also we're in the middle of all of the tentpole releases for this year. Like, we're in that 3-month period where Nintendo drops the biggest games of the year. Like, they're dropping Pokemon, they're dropping... they just dropped Xenoblade 2's expansion, which was so big they released it on its own. And then you have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Like, they probably don't need to announce anything right now. They're just sailing through it all. But that doesn't mean we don't have some third-party stuff to talk about. According to Games Industry, they caught up with Panic Button. And Panic Button says that Nintendo Switch ports are really challenging, but they like a challenge. And to directly quote them, specifically Adam Creighton, he says, we like to make projects that are special for the target hardware. And Nintendo Switch is a cool device because you use it on the go. You use it docked, and you use it in both modes and move back and forth, he said. So we've done things with the control schemes in motion, but also bringing these AAA titles in their true form to this hybrid hardware has been really challenging. We like a challenge. It's part of why we go after these things. We wanted to both broaden these properties, broaden those properties' availability to a whole new group of people, but we also want to broaden the Nintendo Switch as a platform. We really feel like core games make so much sense on that hardware that we want to bring those over. Ports are tough because when someone's designing a game for the first time for a platform, we can cut features or mold features or make changes that people don't know about or see because we're able to make those in advance of release. For a port, we have to bring the game faithfully with all its gameplay and features or people will feel like it's a lesser port. I am glad that Panic Button took the time to make these comments because I feel like they're a driving force of what ports should be and how they should be handled. If you were a Nintendo fan in the Wii era, third-party ports were terrible, with very little effort put into them most of the time. And I say most of the time because there were some good ports, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reflex Edition was a very good port. And they did exactly what Adam said here. They adapted the motion controls. They really built the game for the hardware, but they didn't cut features. They didn't cut aspects of the game that would make people feel like it's watered down.
Yeah. Because some of those other, like, especially Call of Duty ports on the Wii, oof.
What was it? Black Ops 2? Not 2, but Black Ops? Black Ops was a notoriously awful port, which was sad because it came after Modern Warfare Reflex. Uh, Logan, where do you kind of stand with all this? What do you think?
I mean, I can say that I really appreciate all these panic button ports, because again, like, these ports feel like they're equals, you know. And we know where they're not going to be quite as pretty, you know, as the other console counterparts, but also they're not pretty. And I think that, you know, is a testament just how far, you know, what the baseline for power for these consoles is. Like, the disparity between the, you know, the Switch and the PS4 and the Xbox One is not nearly as large as it was between the PS3 and Xbox 360 and the Wii.
Right.
Good times.
So even though they're less powerful, it's like, okay, these games are still running at 720p at the very minimum, which I think is great, especially what they've been doing, especially with Rocket League. Like, Rocket League just, it looks great. And I played that at performance mode, which is like 720p, 60 FPS or something like that.
Panic Button has also said that the extensive work they've done on Switch ports has improved performance on PS4 and Xbox One as well.
Oh yeah, because they've been able to, like, okay, they have to find ways to fit it in, and so I mean, I'm not surprised, and that's really great, because again, I like Rocket League, and I like playing Rocket League on my Switch, and I like that I have the option of buying Doom on my Switch, even though I could buy it for like $15 or something like that on
Switch
PC,
X.
or $60 on Switch. And for somebody on a budget, you know what I'm going for, especially because it can look so much prettier on PC.
Speaking of Rocket League, the cross-platform profile system that they were going to implement was delayed to next year.
I'm a little bit disappointed, because I have Rocket League on my Switch and on my PC, and I love, and now, you know, my progression on my Switch is so much further than it ever was on PC. But I'd love to have that option to play on PC, and it would make me want to play on PC more if I just, you know, had cross progression. And ever since I heard that they were doing this, I was like, yes, please give me this. And I was, you know, playing Rocket League the other day with my buddy, who I also lent Super Mario Odyssey. And we kind of had a talk about this. And I'm like, I think cross progression is arguably more valuable than cross play, you know? For people who just want to be able to play those games anywhere, anytime, on any platform.
It's great for Fortnite. I wish Overwatch had that.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
In addition to this, one of the comments they make is that this gives them time to prepare for PlayStation, since Sony has recently changed their policy on cross-plat play, and that might actually have a decent amount to do with this delay in the first place.
Yeah, I'd rather they do it right and like delay it and do it right than, you know, try to rush it out the gate just because people want it, you know. And we all know what happens with rushed products. Like even in the age of you know, being able to update things after the fact, like that initial launch, it stays with a game, you know, and it mars the, you know, the perception of those games. Even so, I mean, to a lesser degree, because this isn't, you know, a full new game. It's just one aspect of a game. You know, I'd rather they just put in the time now. And it's not like, Psyonix is really hurting for cash right now.
No, not at all. Conman says, I can't bring my V-Bucks to Switch. I thought when they changed their stance on cross-plat that was also something that was fixed. The ability to use your Epic account between PlayStation and other systems. Was that also lifted? Because I thought it was.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just crickets.
Yeah,
Conman's
I
checking.
feel like it makes the most sense to just be able to have a, when you have a joint account, be able to use your V-Bucks wherever you feel
because
fit.
that is as anti-consumer as you can get.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, like, there is the consideration of, these platforms want to still make money off of these, these platforms. So if you purchase the V-Bucks when you're on your PS4, do they go to Sony, or at least a portion, do they go to Sony? Because obviously a lot of the V-Bucks are just going back to Epic. But I don't know, maybe Epic is paying like dues or of some sort to different platforms. I don't know how all that works. Wish I had a little bit more insight.
Well, let's go ahead into our last story for the day. Also, Conman clarifies it is possible for him to transfer his V-Bucks. IGN made an article. Nope, Nintendo Life made an article. Okay, well, that clarifies that. The prototype for the original Katamari Damacy was developed on the Nintendo GameCube. Now that's a cool story, isn't it?
It's also a weird story because who published Katamari Damacy?
Bandai Namco.
Okay.
This story comes from Kotaku, sourced by My Nintendo News.
Okay. So why did it only come to PS2 then? Is that just because the market share was so much larger and they're like, whatever,
Let's read the quote here. This section comes from My Nintendo News. It says, Keita Takahashi's book reveals that the original Katamari Damacy had been prototyped on the GameCube. According to Takahashi, this is because our engineer didn't have much expertise, and neither did I, and the schedule was tight. So for the reasons we picked the GameCube platform for prototyping, I wanted to use the PS2 controller, though. The book says that Nintendo's developer-friendly outreach and the release specs for the PS2 indicating it would be a difficult path for even experienced game developers were also contributing factors. So I think the only part of the story we don't have is eventually why it then ended up on PS2.
Right.
Nintendo GameCube was superior hardware. A lot of people don't know that.
Other than the fact that they had more
Mini
limited
discs.
space on the disc, so the audio wasn't as good on a lot of games.
Right. But yeah, just an interesting story, and now we finally have Katamari Damacy, arriving on a Nintendo platform. You're hearing that story from a lot of different games this year.
And I totally forgot for a minute that Katamari Damacy was coming to Switch, and then I remembered it's only $30. And then I got very excited because I've never gotten a chance to play this game, but I remember several years ago watching gameplay and being like, I want to play this game.
Doesn't this game also come out on December 7th, though?
I think so. Yeah, there was one game that we said was doomed because it released alongside Smash Ultimate.
I'm pretty sure it was this one.
I think that it releases a little bit sooner on the eShop. But the physical version releases a little bit later.
Okay.
So, from what I had read, or at least I may be wrong about this, I think it's releasing November 30th on the eShop. And I think they even talked about that, so I'll have to double check. Don't take my word for it, but it for sure will be on the platform as of December 7th, aka Smash Ultimate Day.
Dream Drop Sora remembers us having that conversation outside of Best Buy and laughing about it. So, I think it is out on the 7th.
That's tragic.
It is really tragic.
If it's something that you plan on playing anyway, you'll find a way to get it eventually.
I mean,
There's not release date.
like I'm gonna get it anyway, but obviously Smash is going to take precedent. And
right. If I can only afford Smash, I'm gonna buy Smash.
Right. And I'll buy both. Don't not support Katamari, says Conman. Yeah, like I plan on supporting Katamari, maybe just not right away.
Yep. No, and okay, I just read a Polygon article. It is out November 30th on the eShop. A physical edition will come out December 7th.
Well, if I'm
Okay,
done with
that's
Pokemon,
better.
I might pick it up.
Yeah. So I think, I'll probably end up purchasing this game digitally because I just bought a 265 gigabyte micro SD card. So I have space for that. And obviously I like having all my games on there at once. So this will definitely be a digital purchase for me.
That brings us to the games we've been playing, and for me and also Paul, it's really only been one. And that is a game that released on Tuesday, being Starlink Battle for Atlas, with a small trademark symbol next to Atlas. Developed by Ubisoft. Of course, we're playing the Nintendo Switch version, which comes with
The only version.
The only version of the game, the only one that exists, that comes with Fox McCloud, another character, the main character of Starlink, Mason, the Arwing.
Oh, that's his name. I keep forgetting.
And some extra guns, as well as digital versions of Mason's ship and gear. We won't get too deep into Starlink because there will be another video for that. You guys will see that soon. That said, I think Starlink is pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel like Ubisoft is gonna have a hard time determining whether like the series, like maybe if the series like if this game can be justified, if they can justify a sequel. Right? Because if this game does well, one, it's going to sell so much better on Nintendo consoles, given, I think, the nature of the game and then also the Star Fox content.
Which is way more than just content, by the way.
Right. But, like, there's no guarantee that there's going to be Star Fox content, like,
next time.
In the next time, right? And so it really just depends. I love how there's, like, in all of the... in a lot of the promotional material, Fox McCloud is featured pretty prominently, right?
He's not on the box art.
Well, not on the box art, but a lot of this other stuff. Well, I mean, it's understandable because they don't necessarily want that to be the focus of the game because they want the game to stand on its own.
Sure.
Right?
And I feel like the way to determine whether or not this game will get a sequel is to look at the sales numbers on the other platforms. Because yeah, the Switch version will sell the best, but I think those will give you the accurate like numbers for how this game would have fared without Fox.
That's not to say that Starlink can't continue as a Nintendo Switch exclusive in the future.
Right.
Honestly, I'd like to see Fox and his team become mainstays, because they really are like seamlessly integrated into the world of Starlink. They're there in the cutscenes. They're having the conversations with the main characters. They're part of the plot. It's really cool. I mean, you can see where like Star Fox and friends, or Star Fox has kind of been stitched in. You can see those moments. Like there'll be Fox and his team talking to Mason about ship upgrades, and then they walk out of the scene, and then all of the other characters walk in, and another conversation starts about something else. So that's where the other two consoles got in. Like that's the moment that it becomes Starlink again, rather than Star Fox plus Starlink. But that said, like the integration of Fox and his team is really good. Like if you play the whole game as Fox McCloud, which you can, like he's the one having the conversations with the tertiary characters. He's the one talking to NPCs. Like he's got all of the voice lines necessary to carry out the rest of the game. And that's awesome. Like this could have easily been like just tacked on. Like you could have been playing as Fox, but say like Mason or some other character could have just chimed in to complete the conversations. But no, it's Fox. He's the one doing it. And what's super like impressive to me about that is that Fox and his team weren't integrated until after last year's E3. That's wild. They got a lot done in a short time.
Right. Well, at the very least, like they had the base game like pretty much done, right? So it's just a matter of like, okay, polishing everything else and then integrating that content.
Yeah. And I also want to commend Ubisoft for how well they're treating Star Fox as a brand. Like, they're treating it with just as much care as they treated Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. There is Go ahead, Paul.
I was gonna say, like, the whole time you've been playing this, I keep bringing it up, but like, it just makes me want a Star Fox game. Like, they did such a good job with the property.
There's so much care. Like Fox and his team's models are really impressive to look at, especially like on the menu screen, where their model just kind of stands there and you get to look at them, and it looks really good. And then the voice acting is really good, like pretty good, I should say. Like, it's still the Star Fox members, and it's still the same voice cast, but the direction is a lot better than usual.
Oh yeah.
Fox actually sounds good for the first time maybe since Star Fox 64. Yeah, I really have to commend Ubisoft for the integration of Star Fox so far. And I just did the first mission, the first Star Fox exclusive mission, which gets fully rendered CG cutscenes, by the way. Like, they did not lowball on this. I got to that cutscene that they released a trailer for, the one with Wolf, and he's talking to a dude, and the dude's like, yeah, Fox and his team, they showed up with like 50 ships, and then Wolf walks over to his hologram and he says, 50 ships, huh? That doesn't sound right. And starts chewing on some not Cornerian food. Just really cute, really like polished stuff. And they also integrate Star Fox music into the game. Whenever you use Fox's special has you call in another member from Star Fox. They come down, and basically they're an ally for like a minute and a half. And they play an arrangement of the Corneria theme from Star Fox on Super Nintendo. And every time it comes on, Paul gets really pumped.
That's every time it comes on, I think I stop and say, they need to make another Star Fox game. That's specifically the moment every time that makes me say we need another Star Fox game.
I had to. Oh, go ahead, Logan.
I just want to ask you guys, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how fun is the gameplay?
I've finally kind of gotten into the main gameplay loop, which I'll go into more detail probably next week once I have more time with it. But I'm really enjoying it, to be honest. The combat isn't super deep. I'll say that. It's a lot of just.
I didn't expect that much from a Toys to Life game.
There's also not a lot of enemy types, but the main gameplay loop, while it is a little repetitive, it's interesting. It actually borrows elements from Star Fox 2 on Super Nintendo, where you have the entire galaxy map, and you have management to keep up with. Like, these planets are constantly under attack by the Legion, and you have to manage your resources in order to combat them so they don't get overthrown.
Right.
And you have to travel to each one and, take it bit by bit and try and keep the forces down, which I think is really neat. And you can kind of approach it in any way that you want to. It doesn't force you to do anything in any one way.
Okay. Well, you'll have to remind me next time I visit that I need to at least experience a little bit of that game, because I'm curious. Not curious enough to spend the money on it, because, again, finances are tight. And
if you buy the digital version, it's cheaper, and you get like 3 pilots and 3 ships instead of 2.
Well, we'll see, because I got a lot of other priorities, and Red Dead's on the horizon, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, but I guess I should mention then the game has fully supported split screen co-op.
Oh, okay.
And me and Paul were fairly impressed with how the game handled it. Like,
yeah,
it ran just as well as it did before it was split screen, and that was incredibly impressive for me.
Right.
The only thing is that both ships are kind of tethered together to a certain distance, because the game can't load that much open world at once, which is understandable.
Right.
Still a little bit of a nuisance, but it's not as tight as you would think. Like, You can get fairly far away from each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I found out that there was an option to turn friendly fire on.
Oh, we'll have to do that later.
Yeah. If I could say anything about Starlink that I'd want to change as of right now, it's not necessarily a change, but an addition. I would love it if there was a dogfighting mode. The fact that there isn't is kind of a crime.
Right.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, being a kid, putting together your perfect ship, just, like, really building it together, bringing it over to your friend's house, who has his, like, super amped up ship, and you fight him. That's awesome.
That's what life's about.
It's like bringing your favorite action figure over, but you totally customized it. Starlink does not have online. Starlink is local only. To verify for the chat. You will hear more about Starlink a little later on. Like I said, there'll be some videos to look out for on the channel, so keep your eyes peeled. But as far as me and Paul, that's all we've played.
Yep.
Yeah, and I haven't played much more. I mean, I've already mentioned Smash 4. I've already mentioned Rocket League. I don't think I mentioned this. I neglected to mention this and a few other things on the breakdown. But I did get a chance to play Super Mario Party a little bit, at least one board. And it just kind of reinforced that I want this game. And if I, make more friends in the area or, start hanging out with more people more often, then it's something that I would like to pick up. In addition to that, the other day, me and my roommate played a ton of Soul Calibur 2 on my GameCube.
It's a good choice.
And turns out, I was always a big, Soul Calibur fan. And just revisiting that game and refamiliarizing myself with the why that game is so great and why it stands out from, other fighters. Because it's like a 2D fighter, but then, there's there's a more, 3D aspect to it. The fact that you can move around, your opponent. You're always facing each other, but you can dodge to the left and to the right instead of just backing up. And then obviously
I'm glad you brought this up, by the way, because happy Soul Calibur 6 launch day.
Yeah, I came home and my roommate was watching Soul Calibur 6 gameplay, and for half a second I thought he went out and bought it, and I almost died. And then he started talking about the lore of Soul Calibur. This guy's he's super into Soul Calibur, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And the other day he was like, I think I'm gonna try and 100% Soul Calibur 2. So me and him tag teamed the master weapon mode. And
I loved that
unlocked
mode as a kid.
Yeah, unlocked a whole bunch of other characters, and then he started doing the extra version of it. That's that much harder. And it's been a joy watching him play, and there's so much depth to the combat in that game. But that game functions not there's the kick button, but then the actual weapon attacks are based on vertical attacks and horizontal attacks, and so there's so much, I don't know, there's a very clear form of strategy that I don't think exists in just 2D fighters, more classical 2D fighters.
No, Soul Calibur is definitely built with 3D in mind.
Yeah. And obviously it came into existence on the Dreamcast, so it was kind of entering the, it was Sega getting its gears going in the 3D realm, right?
Yeah.
And those games are all very critically acclaimed because it's a winning formula. It's hard not to enjoy those games. And then of course there's the myriad of button inputs that it's oh my gosh, the sheer amount of moves that are possible with each character is like absurd. And like, I didn't even know. Especially watching like the Soul Calibur 6 gameplay, which is something that I definitely want to pick up. And I don't get excited about fighting games other than Smash Bros.
Yeah, my heart's hurting right now real bad.
It looks really good.
I got that like twinkle in my eye right now, and I'm trying to fight it.
That being said, I was talking to him about like, okay, if there was one character in Soul Calibur, like a featured character that you could throw in there, who would it be? And he threw out a joke because we were talking about how Mitch McConnell looks like a turtle. If you've ever seen pictures of Senator Mitch McConnell, he's an awful person, but he looks like a turtle, and that's pretty cool.
I think they should add Richter from Fire Emblem, personally.
Yeah.
Who's Richter?
I'm sorry. I meant Richie.
I was thinking that they should just throw in Guts from Berserk.
Oh, dude. Actually, yeah, I changed my answer to Guts.
Man, that also reminds me. It's like I really want to pick up the Berserk Warriors
The Musou
crossover
game, yeah.
Yeah. I heard it wasn't amazing, but that doesn't really matter. I just want to be Guts and just,
the secret is that it's a Musou game and that they aren't amazing anyway.
Right. So it is what it is. But that's been my week in terms of games that I've been playing on Nintendo consoles. And we'll see where that goes.
Sweet. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the old Nintendo Stuff podcast. The podcast stuffed with Nintendo.
There it is.
Yeah, and I've been trying to reintroduce that back in. Once again, not a lot of news, but I think despite that, we had some interesting things to talk about, like the Pokemon Let's Go post-game content, the possibility of Super Mario Odyssey DLC or a sequel, an entire conversation that Logan wasn't here for. We had just wrapped it up by the time he got back.
I feel like I've had that conversation so many times anyway. Yeah. Like I feel like it should come, or if it doesn't come, it's because they're preparing for a sequel. And that's pretty much the gist of what I have to say about that.
Yeah, and that is pretty much exactly what we talked about. That said, we got some videos coming out this week. I'm hoping three videos. Got the Break Room Breakfast is on the way. Another episode of the Break Room Breakfast is on the way, and then a secret project I'm not going to tell you about is also on the way.
So at least
wonder
3.
What it could be.
I wonder what it is. I wonder what it could be.
I feel like I know you've probably told me, and I don't remember.
It's only going to be the best video we've ever made.
All of them?
Until we make the next best video that we've ever made.
Boom.
So far, the best video we've ever made, according to YouTube statistics, is a standard definition Pokemon tribute video using Monster Hunter.
It's a good video, though. For like where we were at in our careers, like that was pretty darn good.
You mean in high school?
Yeah. I mean, think about it. Like the second best video we ever made was Richter.
Oh, Richie. And mostly because people hate me.
Yeah.
Dream Drop got that video in his recommended yesterday.
Oh. Nice.
Okay. Good.
Did you watch it?
Did you watch it? We're curious now. But yeah, I will try and get Paul did the rough cut for the first episode of Breakfast, so we'll try to get that out soon, as well as the second one, and then the big old project. I will like to say that it will be done before the end of the weekend. I can't promise anything, but I'm going to try my best. So make sure to follow me on Babababs, follow Logan at LoggyDubs, follow Paul at Gunnysaurus, and follow us as a collective at Break Room Arcade. Break Room Breakfast, says Conman. If you want to hang out and chat with us more, make sure to join our Discord server. Link is in the video description on YouTube. And if you really like what we're doing here, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and then rate on podcast sources. And if you really, really like what we do here, we have a Patreon link in the description, and we would really love it if you helped support us. Get us to Japan in 2021. Get us to E3 next year.
Get us everywhere.
Please. We need help. Yeah, so keep all of that in mind, guys. And we will see you next Friday with the Nintendo Stuff Podcast number 17. Or if I decide it's number 36 or 33 or 34. 34 was the
34.
Number.
Yeah.
If I decide it's number 34, it might even just be episode 34. And then I'll leave you wondering where all the ones in between went.
They were taken down by YouTube.
So we'll see you guys on next Friday. Don't break your backs. Breaking the games. But for now, break time's over.
I love Paul, but not as much as you guys.